Hey, everybody, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters on Olentangy River Road. It is a fun, casual joint, and it is time for a fun, casual conversation about the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, and Nicole Cox. The gang is all back together.
We're back.
Yes.
On a Tuesday, though.
Yes.
You got to throw that in there every now and then. It is the day to come to Roosters.
Tell me why, Jay-Z.
Because you get $3 appetizer.
It's fried pickles, which
fried
should be out here
pickles today.
soon.
Oh,
They'll be out here soon enough, and Jay-Z will be going to town.
Oh,
They're in the process.
They're my fave.
They're so fresh. They just picked the cucumbers this morning and pickled them all morning. And
This
now
is
they're
not
ready to
true,
go.
Yes,
but
all
they are,
morning
they
pickled.
are very fresh.
This is
They're
pickle
good.
session in the
There's
morning.
no
Oh, here
fresh-
it comes.
Right on time.
Right on time.
Here they come.
There you could
Ooh.
call them fresh picked pickles.
Where
With
do
the pack of pickled peppers.
Where do the pickles rank on your power ranking scale?
They're pretty high.
Ooh, they're real high.
They're really good.
They're in
They
probably
do-
the top 3 or 4 for me. I'd have to really.
And they're not over fried.
they're
like
not
it's,
too overbreaded.
it's like
they're
a
really
good-
Well, and they're
breading.
the
Thank you.
chips. I mean, they're not the
Thank you.
long one. You know, you get the long fried ones.
The shafts.
Yeah, the shafts. The
You want
shafts
the
aren't
thin
as good as the
chips.
chips. The
I
chips, the
haven't had one of
slice.
those in a long time.
I just had one over
Is
the
there
weekend.
somewhere
It
that
wasn't the
puts together
same.
fried shafts?
They're-
of pickles?
they
They
do.
have the long shanks. I mean,
You know, and for someone who doesn't love the pickle,
spears. Yeah.
yeah, the shaft. Well, yeah, it gives you too much pickle in one little bite.
I thought
So
we
and
were-
it gets
the
too
chips are perfect.
When they get too moist, they get
They do.
soggy. Like
They
these, The
The
texture.
breading falls
That's
off.
what I
This
meant.
one is
Yeah,
money.
these are perfect.
Yes,
They are perfect. And they come with Jay-Z's favorite side, which is
Roosters Ranch.
Roosters.
Oh,
It is.
buddy.
Pretty
I gotta
good.
get
They
some
won't
of
tell
these.
me. They won't tell me how they make it. But I take a lot with
Courtney
me every
was
week.
mad when I didn't get ranch for the other
Oh,
time.
I
She
know.
loves
It's like the
ranch.
real
she loves
deal.
the ranch from here.
My daughter will drink this stuff.
Nicole.
I love ranch.
Last
It's
week,
amazing.
we had Josh Fryer on as our Freaky Friday interview guest,
Which is so exciting.
and I said, "Well, do you have any questions for me?" When we wrapped up, do you know what his question was?
What?
What do you order at Roosters?
Oh, that's an awesome question.
So many options.
The gospel is spreading, and they all want to be here. And then he talked about how great the ranch was. I said, "Well, brother, you and Jay-Z would just fit in."
Had he eaten here before?
Oh, had he eaten here before?
He's from
I love
Dayton.
it.
He's a left tackle for Ohio State. He's an
Okay.
offensive lineman. They live for this place.
Where's he from?
So sweet.
Berm, where's Fryer from?
Indiana.
Yeah,
Just
love-
across.
So I said Dayton, just
across the board.
across
That's the
the way.
same.
Yeah,
That's basically the
they
same.
annexed them in.
Yeah, that's the Indiana part of Ohio.
He's playing. Fryer's playing well, by the way.
He sure is.
Well, that's good to hear because
Well, what
else
we
if-
need him to.
What else have you been thinking about spring camp so far, Bob?
The need for both sides to play really well. Josh Fryer has been I wouldn't say a pleasant surprise. We saw some of him last year. He looked pretty good when he was called upon. And anytime you're going to lose 2 guys that are going to be drafted in first, second, first, third, whatever, I mean, dominant tackles, it's a nice security blanket knowing that you're never going to have anybody come up, from behind you. Like you can see the right side, left side's taken care of. And then the front of the pocket was always pretty clean, but he could always find a way that he could step up, but you're never worried about the sides. And also that was good for the perimeter running game. And so now you have to look. I mean, JT got a year older. Jack Sawyer got a year older. These guys are pretty good. I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to call any of them like, the Youngs or Young or the Boses yet, but they're getting some good work out there. And Fryer, to give him credit, I mean, he's doing his pass pro. I mean, he's going against
Legit
Jack,
dudes, yeah. I mean,
and he's going against JT. Like those are the guys he's working against. Like, hey, when are you up? I'm getting reps against you because this is what I need to have. And he's done a good job. And they've got a nice, friendly competition going. They're making each other better, and that's what's good. Working through the right side, that's going to be the challenge for this spring, is trying to figure out exactly what they're doing over there, how that's going to look. And I know Justin Fry's working on it. I mean, I think he's one of the best O-line coaches you're going to find. And doing that, they've got to obviously improve players, develop some guys. Maybe they even go to the portal here after the spring, depending on how that ultimately works and who's available. But also they're doing some things that they really didn't do with CJ as much. Some move the pockets, some more things, play action, and taking advantage of the fact, that both Devin and Kyle are a little bit more athletic and guys who are willing to run it and can do some different things. So you want to make sure you play to their advantage.
I don't know that it's more them being more athletic as opposed to knowing that we might need to have this in our bag.
It's got to be
depending
different.
on how this front 5 ends up. Because going into last year, we knew, all right, we have our ends, like to your point, we have our ends set. CJ's going to be able to sit back there in the pocket and do his thing.
And CJ was an elite. And not that these guys aren't good. And so we remember CJ from the last year. Like his first year, he had some stuff. But you have to do some more things. You just can't sit back in the pocket and just carve human beings up the same way. So we're going to have to move the pocket, do some play action. And that makes you a little bit more diverse.
I was just going to say,
No
wouldn't you
problems.
want to be that way? Just it adds more to your resume per se and just makes it so that you have a plan in any situation because you can't guarantee anything.
Well, and it gives the defense something else they have to worry about, something that they have to rep all throughout the week when they're game planning for you. So I
Slows
think
down
it
the rush.
Yeah, slows down the rush. It does a lot of good things for an offense to be able to move the pocket. And I think with just younger quarterbacks, it helps them get out on the perimeter so they can see things more clearly. They're not trying to look through the offensive line, so that can also help. And they're both able to throw on the run, so that's not a problem. But I think a lot of that is, hey, if you know maybe the offensive line isn't going to be necessarily 100% stout, not that they won't be, but, hey, we got to start practicing this stuff now to try and, just
I
get
think
used
they
to it
should,
and
yeah.
really add it to the bag.
I think they should train that way anyway, just in case,
Well, it's an offensive mindset. If you have a guy who can't do that, you're not going to want to put that in your offense because, it's not going to work very well.
And that was something that I theorized last year. People would say, why doesn't CJ run more? Well, it seems like he's being coached not to do so. And I think when we have this off-season conversation about what is Ryan Day looking for in his quarterback, does it need to be this? Does it need to be a true dual threat? I think both Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, and there's been too much made of them being polar opposite quarterbacks. They're not. They're far more similar than they are dissimilar. So I've seen what you talked about, Bob, on Saturday or even open portions of practice earlier, more designed type running situations. Not even if you just keep it, but you've given the handoff and then you go. At the end of Saturday's scrimmage, Kyle McCord pulls it, goes and then dives in for the end zone, even in a situation where he can't be hit.
It's pretty sweet. Well, I mean, it got kind of aggressive. I think the guys would have hit him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 4th and 1. And it's the last play.
I think Kyle,
if you're running a quarterback
if
pull,
you're pulling that and somebody hits you, you can't get mad about it. You're like, all right, I get it, guy.
It's a tie game, dude.
I shouldn't have pulled that. I know I'm wearing the black jersey.
and I don't think Kyle McCord would have minded.
No,
They went. You saw them going live in a tackling drill early in practice, and the quarterbacks were involved. They were allowed to be hit, and you had to be hit. Kyle McCord ran over a tackler in that period. So
I don't mind the quarterbacks getting tackled. I think it's good when especially if you're running. The problem is, you get rolled up in the back of the pocket, and that's where you can have those injuries. But if you're going to pull it down, hey, man, this is real, and it's good for you to practice on avoiding contact in a real
sliding
situation.
or doing something, at least putting your shoulder down.
So I think my takeaway on that is what Nicole is talking about, preparing that, and also Ryan Day being maybe okay with not micromanaging every part of your quarterback running or not running, trying to avoid injury. You're not going to be able to avoid that in some situations, and just because a guy doesn't run doesn't mean he's going to stay perfectly healthy. So if you take that part away from your offense, we saw how much it expanded what Ohio State could do against Georgia when CJ did run. Might as well work on it.
Well, and those can be the secret plays that they have in their back pocket to pull out in those big games, but you can't. You have to practice them to know you're great at them if you're going to run it. So I do think it's good to practice all of the, just any way to be the best at your position and be just versatile.
Yeah, I think Kyle McCord has done a good job showing that. He made several throws on the run as well. So
I don't know where
the kid
people
can
said
spin
that,
it.
Yeah.
someone along the line he's not athletic. I'm like,
I
where
think,
did you base?
I remember asking him, coming into spring, was like, is this kid really that much more athletic than Kyle? Because I don't see it really.
They're
just by watching them roll out and throw the ball, it's like, all right, they seem to be similar athletes.
Devin, if you put them in a combine setting, Devin might outperform Kyle a little bit. But as far as functional athleticism,
playing the game,
is Devin maybe a split faster if you're pulling away and 20 yards down the field, maybe a little more top end speed. But as far as functional athleticism, being able to move
around the
avoid
pocket,
the rush,
getting out of the
step up, pick up 8 yards and get a first down. These guys are doing all,
do that.
and they're both kind of big body guys, so they can handle a hit and they can get their shoulder down and do what they need to do.
I think Jay-Z, it's part of the way everything is anymore in a black and white.
Yeah,
world.
everything always has to be
the Ricky Bobbyism of America.
I am.
If you ain't first, you're last.
I am.
Ain't the best, you're the worst.
More like American discourse, where if you're not this,
you're that.
you are that.
You have to be that.
And that's not the case for these two guys.
Why
But that was it. Well, Devin Brown is more athletic. That's what Ryan Day wants. Lincoln Keenholz can do that too. That's
Is
where
it
he's going.
Keinholz or Keenholz?
Keenholz.
Keenholz is what
I called him Keinholz on his visit. They never. Him or his mom.
And he
never-
still came here,
Maybe-
so that's good.
Well, I met with him on the
And
Friday after
Roethlisberger-
Thanksgiving.
Maybe we'll
They
learn
didn't
more
use it.
about pronunciation for South Dakota words and names as we go along, because
Possibly.
we did about
His
peer.
family are farmers, so we kind of connected and bonded over that.
That's
it was
important.
a good deal.
Anyway, the point is, just be they're not polar opposites, and you can do some of both. And the margin between them physically is not what many people
I
assume.
mean, how
it to
much
be.
colder is, North Dakota than South Dakota versus like North Dakota versus Tijuana? I feel like that we're maybe more in that line of athleticism as opposed to tropics versus tundra.
Yeah, fair.
Well, that's kind of what like Jay-Z and Nicole just did. Jay-Z
I was
wanted
skiing.
to go ski and get cold and be on the mountain.
Love it.
And Nicole's like, no, I'm going to
The
Yeah.
beach.
I'm
That's
going
not
to the
my
beach.
favorite.
No?
You're like,
No.
But they
Oh,
both
it's my
came back
favorite.
tan. So
Well, this is more windburn.
Wind-
Yeah.
It's all the same.
I prefer tan.
I still
I
get
prefer
red,
that.
so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, getting a coat on, we do that every day.
Oh, we had like 20
I
some
don't know.
inches
It's
of
pretty
snow,
nice
too.
outside.
It's
really
nice.
nice.
I'm just waiting, like we're
Short
gonna have a
sweater.
winter.
We're in that time. We're in
April or
that
May.
time where we got
No, waiting for it to be
3
awesome.
to 5 weeks of it, and then it will be nice.
we're in that
Mhm.
sweet spot already.
Right
Shorts and a quarter.
As long as you turn the wind down,
That's
I'm
tough.
good.
There.
I
Well,
know.
I don't need the 30-mile-an-hour winds to make 60 feel like 30 again.
that's
I
the
know.
problem.
I know.
Yeah. So the other thing, Nicole, we talked about developing talent, letting them learn.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Hartline's doing some of that with the play calling,
Oh, so you noticed headsets.
and we made a big deal out of it. And then we talked to Brian Hartline earlier today.
Said it wasn't even on.
He's like,
You're just
"What
wearing
are you
it?"
guys
It's not even
Yeah,
recorded.
like, what are you guys talking about? We did that as a joke. So Ryan Day didn't wear a headset on Saturday. So us, media folks, we're looking for
Oh,
information.
look at this. Oh, look at
Trying to
that.
get into it. Ryan Day's
He's not going to call any plays this
not
year.
wearing the headset. Brian Hartline has to.
I was
be doing
wondering
it.
if people were picking up on that.
He's practicing
Well,
himself.
not everyone does, but some people do.
Because Ryan's only back there holding the sheet, calling it in. He was like navigating things and making calls, stuff like setting up situations.
Mhm.
He's practicing what it's going to be like with Brian making the calls, which I think it's great. I really do. I think it's going to things are just going to run more smooth, because even though, great coaches are the leaders, but being a great leader is also delegating, and because it takes a full team of people to make it work. So I love hearing that he didn't have a headset on, because he's practicing as well.
Yeah, I know that you heard him talk about that on the cruise, like
Yeah.
that he has to be more of that CEO, and it
You guys, he's
seems like
incredible.
he's fighting some of that, but you can see that he's making those steps right now.
Absolutely. And I'm a little bit of a control freak.
No.
What?
What?
You get out of
I've
here.
never.
Yeah.
That's the first time hearing of it.
And it with the best of intentions. It's because I care. But
Because no one can do the job as good as me. So let's just be real.
Yeah.
No.
I'm the one that does it right. I'll do it.
No, I think you also feel that it's your job. Like Coach Day feels it's his job to make the calls, the play calls, but you have to take a step back and realize, actually, you're better to be focusing on these other areas, and you are too in it to make those calls in such stressful times, So I think it's just something you learn. But he was incredible on the cruise. He's just the greatest. I know I didn't get a chance to talk about it because I wasn't at the show right after that, but the things he talked about, and just to see his growth as a coach, and just like this, like having Brian Hartline make the calls, he's amazing.
Hart seemed pretty annoyed about the volume of questions
Imagine that.
about it. Yeah,
What?
you guys have known him for a while. That seems right in character for him?
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see how it goes when maybe the game didn't go as planned, and see how he reacts to that. But yes, I could see him being kind of annoyed about it, because it's just, to him it's going out and doing what he does. And we had those guys in here last week, and just talk to him off camera, like, how do you think he's gonna do? Like, oh, he's in it. Like he's a great football mind. He's he knows what he wants to do with it and how he wants to go about calling those plays. And so I think he's gonna do a great job. But yeah, he's gonna. That's part of the promotion, right? Now you got to deal with the questions, and you got to, you do all that a little bit more under the spotlight than what you're used to. And so he'll get used to giving the answers that you guys hate, of just not telling you anything.
I don't know if he will.
No? After he gets burned once, he will. Yeah,
everybody does at some point.
because everybody wants to be your friend until.
But I think he seems to like.
Well, he's
giving it
refreshing,
back.
and he's refreshing in that he's honest, and he'll come back at you. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think he wants to compete against the media, and that's
I could see that.
Somebody from a local television station can attest to how difficult that can be. If you go at him today and you don't have an actual question, then he's not going to
man.
answer.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah, what
was just
happened
randomly
there?
talking and then expected him to continue
Yeah.
when he stopped. Finish my thought, please.
Play calling was basically the extent of the question, and Hardline said,
Is there a question in there?
I don't know what you're asking, person.
I love it. I love it.
Can you be more specific? Like, he had already addressed it about 15 times, but
No.
sometimes different outlets need 5 or 10 seconds for a newscast,
so they can.
and that wasn't really the game that he wanted to play. That made for an amusing exchange with someone that he's known for a very long time.
Was it about him calling plays?
Yes, it was.
Like, is there nerves involved? What's your style? What's the strategy, or just
Are
your
you
thoughts?
excited?
Your thoughts on calling plays.
kind of open-ended. Yeah, play calling. Talk about it.
After you just did.
So wait, guys.
So
So,
every play,
during
I give them a formation
yeah.
and a
So
play.
during the game,
yeah.
is play calling going to be his only focus? Like, is he going to have to focus on anything else?
That's something that we don't 100%
Well,
know
he
the
will.
answer to at
and
this
so they have
point.
Devin Jordan,
Yeah.
who you know,
Yeah.
is helping with the receivers as well. And so Brian, like, you can be a position coach and still coordinate, because you're going to sit there and hey, here's what we're doing. There'll be conversations. They'll probably try to figure out the one thing he'll probably have to delegate a little bit, I would imagine, is the rotational thing. He's going to want to know, but also too, when you're calling the plays,
You know who you're calling
you'll
for.
want to know who's
Yeah.
going to be in the game.
You're going to say, hey, give me so-and-so and so-and-so. We're
Give me
going
this-
this.
Give me this
Yeah.
package. Give me this package of these guys, this guys, whatever it is. Hey, we need such and such in because we're going to do this. So I think you'll have a pretty good feel and understanding. But I'm sure that's something he'll work closely with Devin with, who played with both of us, played with Brian as well. So
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's in good hands with Devin, and I'm sure Devin's teaching and coaching the way that Brian, has been doing it. But I mean, he'll still be involved on the sideline.
I think it's best. I thought the whole point of this, which I think is what's happening, is that it's putting one person in charge of it so they can give 100% focus, as opposed to how most head coaches are, where they have
it's a
like
lot.
90% here, they just are bouncing around. So you can't ever do anything at its best unless you can just solely focus on that.
Think about Ryan. Like, he was head coach, so he has to be in charge of situations
Yes,
and managing
everything.
both sides, calls, all that timeouts, clock management, all that different
He
stuff.
did a
Injuries.
great job at
Yeah.
it too. When you're juggling 1 million things, he did a great job. I just think this is a very smart move.
But then you
for
also have the
team.
plays, and then he was also involved with the quarterback room as well. So it's not like he didn't have any other stuff. So every coordinator has a primary position that they're going to work with a lot, depending if there's another coach in that room or not. I mean, that's why James is there with Jim Knowles, to help out and make sure that he's assisting and taking care of a lot of the linebacker stuff. So that goes without saying. But if you go back and look, I believe the last coach to win a national championship who called plays on either side of the ball was Jimbo Fisher, and that was at Florida State. And he's not doing so well at A&M trying to get that done. Just
No.
like Saban doesn't call his own stuff. Dabo does. None of these guys do. It is tough. It's difficult. Even Brian Kelly, now at LSU, like, he stopped and acquiesced and gave it up at Notre Dame, just realizing like you can't manage all of that,
No.
even on game day. Plus, on top of it, getting prepared to call the plays, trying to manage a program.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that's really hard.
No, I completely agree. That's why I think this is going to be great. And I know it's a hard decision. I know it had to be a hard decision for Coach Day, because it's
What he's
he
always
feel-
done.
and he feels it's part of his job position, but sometimes
You're
delegating.
giving up the
just-
keys to the
yeah.
car, and
Mhm.
to your car.
Like, imagine, I mean, this is very similar. Imagine trying to curate the menu and you're the chef, prepare stuff, meanwhile run everything else that's going on in the
Oh,
restaurant.
absolutely.
Like, that's, I mean, it's almost just like mind-bending.
It's
if
in
you're trying to figure
anybody's
that out.
job, That's why it takes a team. It takes everyone. If one person tries to do it all, it's not going to happen well. So
No, it isn't. But everything runs smoothly at Roosters. So what's going on?
It's our
here?
team, guys. That's why.
Ooh,
It's these
and you
amazing,
do have good
this
team.
amazing team.
I was told there might be a Roosters food truck at Student Appreciation Day.
There
and
will
scrimmage
be.
on
You know,
Saturday.
we love supporting the students.
Saturday,
We're
and then-
excited to be there.
And we also, it probably makes a great catering opportunity for the Final Four on Saturday night, and then Monday night
Yes.
with the championship.
Yeah, let's
Yep,
get your
we have
chips.
the pickup party menus at the stores, and then
Ooh.
catering might still have some positions, sometimes available to
Like that.
deliver. So,
I told Nicole she's going to drive the truck over there.
so
And
I
then
can
where
come
we
watch
gonna meet her
practice.
later?
Are you
She's gonna
authorized to
watch-
drive the truck?
No, I'm not. And that's never really been on my list of things. to
No,
want to do.
all the
I
things
do-
you've done with Roosters, you never drove the truck.
No, I do want to do a full week in the kitchen though, like with one of the KMs, and just learn how to do everything back there, just to have a better understanding of how everything works.
KMs
Yeah.
work extremely hard.
They're
I
amazing.
believe so.
Their whole team, they're amazing. I've bartended, hostess, but I have not driven the truck.
I
I've driven
think
the
that-
van, but not the truck.
Oh, I would like to see the truck. I'd like to watch you back
like
that
to
up
see the
between the
back it.
fences there.
Guys, I think I'd be pretty good at
I'd
it.
like you
Oh,
to
yeah,
back it
I'm
in my
sure.
driveway with some chips.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I'll get the
So-
neighborhood
Well,
out.
maybe that will be what gets Jay-Z out to us.
Yes.
Is if you show up and you've got the
And there's
chips in the
chips.
truck,
If there's chips there,
and then we'll all be there to break it down.
the
next
chip
week.
signal will go out. Yeah.
Are you going? You should.
Yeah.
I'll find out if there are going to be chips there. I
Can
think
you get
there
me?
are.
Can you get me in?
It's catering.
Can
There's
I get
always
in through
chips.
Roosters?
I think you can get in because you played at
He's with
Ohio
us.
State. Yeah.
I don't know.
Jay-Z's
I'm
got a
sneaking in with
student
my Roosters shirt on.
Nicole's bringing, her daughter's student ID. She's
Yeah.
going to use that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think I have my old one.
I think we might all be
Buckeye
okay.
ID.
Okay.
I don't think we have to worry about it. Like, all of us are covered for access to this.
Okay, all right. Well then,
But I don't want. Maybe I shouldn't jinx it for myself. I have to continue to follow the rules of coverage.
Is media allowed?
Yes.
Okay,
I will be there,
perfect.
just as I was last Saturday for the full scrimmage.
full scrimmage. Was that just like
So long.
Christmas Day for you guys?
It was amazing,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it wasn't even like they weren't going up and down, back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
forth. It wasn't like
It was just cool to be able to see the whole entire practice.
so good.
That's awesome.
They did like an open field tackle. I mean, there was the full practice, and then the last 10
Yeah, they just,
periods,
like,
or
scrimmaging.
8 periods, they did.
I
go
would,
inside and-
I would never sit here and complain. I wish they'd gone live more. Like some is more than nothing.
Yeah.
I will
It's better than warm ups.
I will gladly take it. Yeah, today was,
watching the same drills every day.
that's what made Tuesday morning a real tease. Like now you're back to the first 4 periods.
Yeah.
I know that this is a joke compared
Yeah.
to what's about to happen as soon as we leave, but I'll still take that
Hey,
too.
take what
I
you
don't
get.
mean to complain about that either.
Nope.
I'm happy to cover Ohio State any way I can.
I know you are.
Giving you a lot of
That's
they're
awesome.
opening up the access.
Right.
You
I
know?
let the
They're
people
doing
in.
We'll see how that happens by the time August rolls around. All right, so that's what's going on at Roosters. Nicole's going to get out of here. We're going to be back next week at some point. Probably
Yes.
Monday again, right?
Yes.
Monday?
Monday.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we'll plan on. And
Oh, yeah,
then
that's
Nicole
perfect.
will be here, and we're going to be back with more. Byrne will jump in here as we roll along in the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge. Look at this monster.
Oh my goodness.
I
is that?
I often say that the wedges are the best, but the wedges are usually 25% of the size of this. I think it needs to be made into a trophy.
It's like the Ron
I think
Jeremy.
we should
wedges
hang it.
right
we should
there.
hang it back here.
It needs to be bronze
In the
and
Horseshoe
put
Lounge.
on a mantle.
That's a large potato.
I mean, Bill didn't
And
eat
that's
it.
just a
I don't-
16th.
He's
of
so
that potato.
amazed.
It's
Yeah.
got to be the most tasty one. You get some of that spicy ranch or JC's normal
Yes.
plain ranch. You're in business with that. Holy
the
cow.
spicy ranch is
Oh, yeah.
elite
The spicy ranch is just top notch.
because it brings really everything you want to the table.
I'm telling you.
Spicy and ranch.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty solid.
like-
you know,
I
I'm
like
gonna have to
both
get
of
one of
those.
those to go. By the way,
Yeah, you forgot to get the
the
spicy.
worst
I-
thing.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big blue cheese guy, and court last time was like, hey, get some
Oh,
ranch.
really?
I
Oh.
brought it back, but psych, it was blue cheese.
Oh.
See,
Oh,
like,
that's the
I'm
worst
like,
thing
I asked for
ever.
it. I don't like blue cheese. I only
Mm.
like ranch. I'm like, and it
That
just,
is tough.
I got hoodwinked, and I mean, this is just what
You
it
get
was.
all the food home, and that's what you have, and you're just
Oh,
like, we
she
don't have
was-
any ranch in the
She
house.
pulled out the salad. She's like, "This isn't ranch."
It ruins. It
I don't
ruins.
know.
the
What, we have
meal.
some in the fridge. She's like, "It's not as good." I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you." By the way, I lost my wallet, and so it was a whole deal.
What a day.
This is terrible.
That's the rug being pulled
The
out.
amazing-
With the blue cheese being the worst part.
It
in
really
my
was.
opinion.
'Cause she would have at least been happy. If
Who's the blue cheese of the Big Ten?
No.
How can it not?
You
I would
have
have
to
to- I would have
use
to
if
say-
you had
no.
you have to use if you're in a pinch.
I would say it's Iowa.
Ooh,
Because Iowa is like kind of like Wisconsin, but not quite as good.
not quite as good.
But
Like they want to be the
No.
best in the West.
there's
but
too
like,
much flavor in blue cheese for Iowa to be blue cheese.
I mean,
We're talking blue cheese crumbles because I like the crumbles on
Is
top of a
Nebraska
sandwich.
the blue cheese?
Iowa
it's like a
is-
staple, and everyone seems to like it for some reason, but no one actually
everybody
wants it.
used to like it, but maybe
Iowa is a saltine cracker.
Yeah, you got a raise, I think that OC, didn't he?
Well,
His dad is the head coach, so it does make it easier.
gets bonuses if they get a first down.
Hey, they were pretty good in the bowl game. Moved the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
Just took some time to get things going.
Yeah,
About 12 games.
Yeah, he really.
working some things out.
They're going to be super exciting.
Hey, they got what's his name coming from Michigan now.
Yeah, that's
Cade
Cade McNamara is
McNamara
going
is
to
his
fix
Listen,
everything for them.
Cade McNamara is a massive upgrade over what they've been rolling out there at quarterback.
Maybe.
By the way,
We'll see.
They also have Michigan's tight end, Eric All.
I like him.
What's going on with the weird pipeline between Michigan and Iowa? Like just trading quarterbacks.
weird things
Oliver
going
Martin,
on.
a wide receiver from Michigan, who's originally from Iowa, who went to Michigan, then transferred back to Iowa. There's been a lot
Back
of
to Michigan.
Did Michigan strike some sort of accord to make Iowa their minor
Feeder
league
system?
franchise?
Something
Yeah, like the
obviously happened
feeders.
in the last couple of years.
You guys go down here and
There
get
was
some work. We'll
souls
bring you
being
back.
Exchanged, some souls being sold.
Soul for a soul.
Is that how they got the last two?
Berm, how are you enjoying spring ball?
I am enjoying it. Good. No, I mean, I think we get to see so very little that, as you mentioned, when we get an opportunity like we did on Saturday to really take in the full buffet, like you go, wow, there's a lot to like
They
about
call it
this
the
team.
full Monty.
Well,
You're used to a
he's,
keyhole.
He's saying because we also got to eat breakfast in there, Bob. So we
Oh, did they have food
Ooh,
for
they
you?
had food?
We did get to have the buffet.
Yeah,
You guys got royal treatment,
Is
huh?
that just for you guys, or is
For
that
the
for
media, yeah, they let the media go up there. And
how good is that breakfast?
I
It's pretty elite.
French toast casserole. Did you have
Yeah,
any?
I try to stay away from that because if not, you rolled me in here every day.
the fella up on the griddle made me a dynamite sando.
Oh,
crushed it.
you should see these sandos they make. They're
Right.
pretty.
Crushed it.
Pop on over Saturday. We'll
Yeah.
go on up and get you a
There
little
we go.
breakfast
Yeah. Go
sandwich.
get me a little breakfast, Sammy.
They're really good.
It is hard to go in there and see that and then be, as you said, like forced today to watch them stretch again. I mean, but I understand, I guess, why they're trying to keep spring.
Well, listen, they
I
don't
think
want
it's funny.
everything.
You're like, hey, we're not. None of this stuff really matters. We're just working on fundamentals, and we're not actually revealing anything. Okay, then let us watch more. Right? You're sort of defeating your argument if that's why you say we can't. You know.
They're gonna let you watch Saturday again, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you're
Yeah, I mean, it's more than you've gotten in the past, right?
Well, Saturday is Student Appreciation Day. It's going to be a huge recruiting weekend for Ohio State.
Yeah.
But
It's going to be packed.
it's so chaotic in there on Student Appreciation Day that no one enjoys themselves,
why?
except for the students.
You just sold me.
Well, I've always enjoyed it and thrived in that environment because I completely ignore the recruits,
Yeah.
and because I've had you working at 300% capacity, and I just go down and do.
Taking pictures and
Yeah,
talking to recruits and trying to watch practice.
I've always been lucky because he works like the hardest person walking the face of the earth. And I'm like, man, yeah, that was a stressful day for you. Let's go talk about it on video, and then you can edit the video when we're done.
Yeah, it's good. So I'm always enjoying it, what we're doing. I think watching today was probably the first time we've really there was some signs on Saturday that Kyle McCord seemed to be pushing a little bit in front of Devin Brown, what we saw at scrimmage. You were there, so I mean, I'm sure you saw that as well. Not that it was not that Devin played poorly, but Kyle, especially towards the end of the day, seemed to really elevate a little bit. But today, I want to ask you guys, as we walked into the indoor after practice, getting ready to sit at the tables and talk to Brian Hartline and Jim Knowles, Ryan Day was surrounded by about 14 players on the team in a private, almost powwow that I've never seen them have that sort of interaction after practice before.
The leadership committee.
Oh.
And it seemed like there was some fiery exchanges, not like at each other, but like, imploring, hey, guys, we need to do better.
I don't think today's practice was quite as productive as Saturday's.
That's sort of the
So there's a
impression.
big drop-off.
That's usually what
that we
coaches
don't
are like,
want.
hey, competitive excellence and the competitive stamina and all that.
But
But the weird part was when we got in there at the start of it, Ryan Day huddled them up, and the music was off, so we could actually hear that conversation too. And he said today is not a winner-loser day, which I've literally never heard anyone in that facility say.
Well, and so maybe the effort, lived up to that.
And that's the thing. Is like, just because I said we're not going to literally judge you on the razor's edge, it doesn't mean you shouldn't go out.
It doesn't mean you
This
have.
isn't a mail it in Tuesday, like some rando Tuesday. Yeah, we need to still go out and get things done. Like, just because it's not win or loser, I'm a big fan of competition. I think it's paramount that you compete as much as possible. However, there are days where you're going to teach and do some different things. But they did have some competitive situations, and I think it's more about the fact of not that guys aren't wanting to do well, but it just comes down to the execution, sloppiness, maybe a little bit of effort, and some different things. And I don't think you look at that blankly across the whole team. It's just, hey, I mean, we got to pick this up. There was a feeling like Saturday was a very productive practice. There was a lot of recruits, the media. I mean, so there's a lot of energy. Then you go back to today, to Tuesday.
We're trying to slow it down a little bit, maybe, and then when you try to ramp it up, it's not there. Then you're like, all right, we got to be going.
And that's the
we got to
difference.
be able to flip that switch.
And that's that's the difference between young guys and old guys. Where
young guys heard, all right, we're not doing winners losers today, so
chill mode.
Yeah,
bro.
chill. Yeah. Oh man, they're not judging us today. Let's go out there.
So it's like, hey, we're going to teach this, and then let's go practice. We're going to slow it down, go fast, slow down, go fast, and work on different situations and stuff, and maybe install some more things. That doesn't mean that it's like, hey, cruise on out here. You're not like Spicoli. We're going to cruise this
hey,
practice.
Man, be a lot cooler if you did.
I'm wondering if at the end of the day, Ryan Day and
Jay-Z pop culture reference.
Hey, ding.
Pop culture from 30 years ago.
If the leadership committee
Doesn't matter when.
If the leadership committee and Ryan Day decided afterwards, we're not going to have non-winner loser days again because maybe today wasn't.
Because you guys were all losers.
They said they're going to call them Emperor Days. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Ooh.
They're lowest person, and they drag them out, and they're going to feed them to a lion.
Love that.
I mean,
I
someone's
would come watch that.
They're going to grade the practice. Whoever grades out the worst, they get eaten.
2 people.
I think the other part
Two
of
people win with the Tiger, and then one
Well, actually, let you guys-
winner, one real loser.
Yeah.
2 losers, 1
Well, yeah. One big time loser.
The other part of Berm's question, I think, was like, how often or does that actually happen on a team with the leadership committee and the coach? Like, how many times do you have to have those sorts of powwows? And
If you're having them every practice or
That's a
every
problem,
day, it's
right,
not a
yeah.
good thing. I think practice has gone pretty well thus far, and there are 5 practices in it.
6, yeah.
Saturday, today was 6, and so it's like, hey, we're almost to the halfway point. I mean, 15 is the number. Hitting 7 Saturday will be 8. We're right there, and so we have all this momentum going in the right direction. We can't take our foot off the gas, and that's the one thing. Like, hey, we just had a good game. Now we're going to go out and lose to Indiana or be in a tight game with Indiana because we chose after we beat Penn State to we're good.
What happens next year? We go
We're
beat
chilling.
Notre Dame and then
Yeah.
come home and it's like, oh, we're going to not show up today.
Going to chill mode. And that's the thing you have with younger teams. And so they're working through some of the leaders right now. And some of the leaders are guys like, JT, Tui Maloau, and, Jack Sawyer, dudes who have played some, but it's not like this is their 3rd year starting. And then you have a guy like Tommy Eichenberg who kind of is that leader, but he's not really out there. Mech's not really out there. So that's
you look
what's
at
tough.
that group today, you got 14 or 15 guys, and more than half of them aren't even practicing this spring.
Yeah.
Fully practicing. So they're there in pads, they're doing some running and some drills, but they're not like actually competing. So I'm curious from a rest of the team perspective, because this is not a young Ohio State team anymore. There's veteran leaders, but none of those guys are really participating.
That's what's
in this
hard.
spring. So which of the young guys is going to step up and guard against that complacency? Because that's when you get in trouble.
When you have to have it on different sides of the ball and in different positions. And also, he can talk about this, when you're in a quarterback battle, there really is no fully defined leader on
It's always
offense.
like a tough deal because you have 2
McCord
guys.
Number 6 was in that huddle.
Yeah. And,
Well,
and he's been there
Yeah, but I'm
longer.
not talking just that committee. I'm talking offense, just
Hey,
who they look to
let's
or
go.
who. Yeah, like, all right, you got 2 guys who are vying for the one spot, and they're like, well, I don't know which one of you guys, And then as you 2 don't want to be like, all right, well, I'm going to be the a-hole and not let you say anything, It's just a really hard dynamic, I guess. You know, I mean, at least back when our time was, which was different. It was a different feeling in the locker room back then as well.
But,
These
you also
guys
don't
are
have
friends.
your center, like you're replacing Whippler, the center. Like, there's just a lot of positions that are vocal positions. That
Yeah, like we had Nick Mangold, who was like always a guy who could, he ran that up front crew, and then you had the receivers and the running backs and quarterbacks kind of did that, and then if we needed to, over everything. But
I mean, you think about this. Even at the the wide receiver position, one of the most dominant position groups on the team. Mech's out, Julian's out, and they're not playing Marvin.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like we got to get young guys reps. So, part of leadership is setting an example and setting the tone, not just yelling at people when they're not doing it. So you don't have maybe anybody out there that's like Tommy Eichenberg. You know what you're getting out of him every practice. He's not out there. So when he's not out there, it's like, okay, well, then you have to have other guys level up. And, the receiver group, like, the other two guys aren't there and Marvin's not practicing, so these young guys have to learn.
And Marvin's not a vocal.
And he's not a vocal guy anyway, but at least they could look at it like, hey, guys, this is the – like.
Well, they've seen him on film. They've seen him practice.
They
know that we got to try and rise up to that level.
That's where you rely on a guy like Xavier Johnson or someone like that who's had to go through all of the weirdness to get to where he is, and he likes to be.
But they're also monitoring, his reps. He's played a lot of football for Ohio State. Heartline said even earlier on Tuesday that they've got to take care of him, make sure that he's.
Some of those
ready.
guys also took like another 40 reps on pro day.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like, hey, Tuesday, Thursday, you're getting another 30 reps.
You're gonna go run on.
And those guys were gassed. So like they had that day plus Saturday, and all of a sudden now, it just starts to catch up to you a little bit. It's the first week in pads. That first week, it's like, okay, 2 practices. We're patting each other around. Everybody's great. Go on spring break. Now come back, ratchet it up. And, like, hey.
Big scrimmage on Saturday.
Yeah, early on it's easy. And then you hit that big scrimmage, like,
you start to.
You got to continue to grind. Competitive
This is where you guys are talking about, the difficulty of running a program and learning the ins and outs and all the nuance of what Ryan Day has to do on a day-to-day basis. I would imagine that after last year with the injury issues they had, there was so much discussion about how hard they were going in practice last year, and we saw the negative ramifications of that every Saturday when you had no idea who was going to be able to play. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some part of Ryan Day that's saying, how much do we have to push and pull right now? Because
like you look at how the reps that Mayan's getting, the reps that Trey's not really out. Like there's just a lot of guys who have played a lot of ball. Like you mentioned, we're kind of nicked up, and it's like we're going to lean on the side of caution because we know what they can do.
When you got to learn your players as well, or know who you can trust to say, all right, we don't need you to get all these reps. We can trust you to when it is go time, you're going to be there. Or there's going to be guys saying, we need to get them more reps. I don't care if they're tired. We got to get them in there. We got to get them and see what they can do. So you got to know who your players are and who you can trust as well.
And the balance of that is that like part of the reason they were doing that was so that they would become a better short yardage rushing team and a much better tackling team, because the only way that you can really do that is by practicing it and doing it. Like it sounds obvious, but like you're not going to become a tougher, better tackling team without bringing people to the ground. But there's a trade-off to that, which is that you're not going to feel very good sometimes, and then you're going to get hurt, and you're going to have people that are going to miss games, and that's I don't know what the right
fine line.
Like there's no way to know what the perfect amount is.
And I think part of that was, it felt like it kind of lost its way. That's why I said it wasn't a toughness thing last year. Like those guys were there. I mean, both sides of the ball.
They're going through a lot.
So now those veteran guys, you can ratchet up and pick your spots with them, and then you can still put the young guys in some situations to continue to grow and understand exactly what you need to do. But you can kind of dial back, I think, on some of the older guys who have proven themselves now that, hey, I'm committed. This is what I am. This is what I can bring to the table. And you don't necessarily have to have that during the season or even somewhat in the spring where there's risk of injury at the expense of, we're going to try to go out here and, quote, get tough and make sure we're working on all those things.
I also think that you see the difference in guys that played last year but were hurt versus the guys that right now, again, we're 6 practices in. So there's been no group that I think has been different or more different in my mind than the defensive backs, especially at corner. What we've seen out of Denzel Burke in these first couple weeks is a complete 180 from where he was last October. Jordan Hancock is healthy, running around looking very much like the player that Ohio State thought he was when he was their clear-cut number 1 cornerback on the board in 2021. And then you add Igbinosun, who I think just provides such a different element to the room. You see a much different vibe and attitude out of the entire defensive backfield, but the corners especially to me.
Well, Igbinosun gives you that element that kind of reminds me a little bit of Jeffrey Okuda. I mean, he is a tall, imposing, long figure with great top-end speed. Maybe he's a little stiff and short-range stuff, but he's going to more than make up for that with his other physical attributes. So you talk about those 3 guys, and it's like, okay, 'cause that was one of the big question marks coming. I mean, even having enough corners to even really be healthy to kind of do some of this stuff. And so that's been impressive. I thought your guy Cam Martinez, I think, has played really well. He looks like he's got renewed confidence out there, has a better feel for it, and just sometimes getting in there with the first group and being the guy. Like that's sometimes all the shot that you really need to go out there and have confidence to start making plays.
It gives you a confidence booster to be. I'm running with the ones now. I got this. Let's go. I'm healthy.
Firm's been trying not to say his name. Bill brought him
Say
up.
his
I
name.
brought him up. Now
Say his name.
He doesn't want to jinx it, I don't think.
Cam wants to be really good at playing football at Ohio State, and he's still only 3 years removed from being a quarterback.
Yeah.
And the difference between being a quarterback in Western Michigan and playing where he started his career at Division 8 in Michigan to playing.
Is that hyperbole, or do they have 8 divisions?
No, it's not.
a real deal.
It's real. When you're playing Division 8 football in Michigan as a freshman and sophomore, to then 5 years later you're being expected to be a starter at Ohio State in a position you never played your whole life, it takes a moment to like buy in, and for not just for other people, but like those players have to believe. And confidence is what you said. I mean, that word is everything to those kids because they haven't been put into a position. Last year they got on the field. You have a couple heartbreaking plays that get stuck in your craw. The play against Michigan, Cam Martinez will never forget that play against Michigan.
Good.
And Buckeyes fans won't let him forget it. And I think that's fine and good, but you also need to learn how to let it go when you're on the field. Like if that's what fuels you 6 days a week.
Like Maverick and Top Gun. I mean,
I don't know.
Standing over the sink with his shirt off and just giving him the gotta let it go across his back.
I don't. This got weird. But
it felt good though.
It could get a lot weirder.
It
right?
felt real nice.
I promise.
Viper, you gotta let him go.
But
keep sending him up.
Yeah. That's fine if you use that to fuel you the other 6 days of the week, but you can't be thinking about that on Saturday.
Well, part of it is he's made some plays, like in practice. Some of the stuff that they've ushered you guys out. I mean, he's looked confident. He's looked very instinctive. We'll use that.
You think Berm doesn't know
quarterbacks
instinctively himself when Cam Martinez makes
what I said on Saturday when we were talking about it.
The signal went out.
After the scrimmage
on
Saturday.
He gets one of these.
He looked like he knew where he was supposed to be. And that's
a good thing,
step,
yeah.
Right? Like, if you're where you're supposed to be, then your odds of making a play are going to be a lot better than if you're where you're not where you're supposed to be, right? So just that little adjustment is a huge part of this process, and understanding the opportunities there. Some of that's being pushed by Jahad Carter and saying, hey, maybe after 3 years you think I'm going to be the guy now, and then all of a sudden they bring in this guy from Syracuse, and it's like, oh, crap, I better
remember, Berm, tomorrow is promised to no one.
That's right.
That's in a manual somewhere.
It is. It's actually on our
trifolds.
It was on our trifolds that they would give us for the game schedules.
Yeah.
I've developed this little thing I do when people leave the Woody after media sessions. There's one guy who every time he's like, all right, we'll see you guys later. I'll be like, you have a good one. You don't know if it's going to be your last. I just say it to him every day.
It's pretty morbid.
Yeah.
Only one person, though.
It's funny.
That's what he decided to carve out for him.
I don't know why I do it, but it's funny to me.
Everybody else gets dabbed.
That guy probably hates you.
Nah, probably a lot of people.
So wait, is that guy part of the media contingent?
Yes, he's a media member.
I didn't know if he was part of like Ohio State.
I'm not going to call Dan Hope out, but for some reason, every time Dan leaves, I'm like, see ya. You never know if it'll be your last day.
No,
I don't know why.
Have a great night, Dan, is what you said yesterday. You never know. It might be your last.
You never know.
The way he says
I think
it,
I want to start using this. I don't know.
Soprano over here.
The way he says it is
Might be your last.
is not like, Tony Robbins inspirational.
Yeah.
Hey, go live it up.
Yeah.
Carpe diem. It's more like,
hey, man,
I might kill you.
I just think that people need to understand. America, listen. There is the largest media contingent of any program in the country covering Ohio State, I'd imagine. Maybe
more than most NFL teams.
And so we like each other. We all like each other. We're all friends. We all generally.
All is a big word.
I don't approve of this message.
We generally all like each other. I like everyone because I'm just one of those people who just likes everyone. So I'm having a good time.
I can see that.
Trying to just have a good time. You
I know what you're saying. I catch your drift.
So to speak. So I just like to put it all out there, and I like to have a little thing with every person on the beat that I like.
Oh my!
Some little inside joke that I can.
You'd make a great head coach, Berm.
That's what I'm here for.
I mean, motivation, finding out something special between the guys.
You can find a special.
Do you have something
connection
special with
everyone.
Berm? I don't think I have.
It is, yeah. It's talking about young dudes.
What?
It's kind of what it is. Scoping the high schools.
We've all got our talents.
How's your guy, Josh Proctor? What are you thinking about our guy?
That's Austin's guy.
Josh Proctor.
That's my guy.
Austin's trying not to talk about Josh Proctor.
And by trying not to, I've been doing it twice as much as I normally would because, I mean, he's working with the starters. I think, Bob,
that's how you get talked about.
My theory is that we've talked about defensive backs and cornerbacks and position coaches changing and new schemes and the coordinators and everything. It's like, well, how much did that impact these people? Josh Proctor has been here for 6 years. He's seen that
Is
more
this
than
his sixth year?
This is his 6th year.
Wow.
He has seen that more than anybody else.
He's a grown man.
And you and I have had this conversation, and I've had this conversation.
He's aged
with
out
Josh.
for Berm.
It's
That's why it's Austin's guy. No,
He can almost run a car now.
Berm passed him on.
I'm actually the one that went to Josh Proctor's high school and had the first interactions with him. Wrote a big story.
First
about him.
grooming, I think, is what they call that.
I think they do. That's
I'm not sure.
today's it.
That's
Continue about Proctor.
That's not
though.
what we call it. But,
Okay.
Anyway,
Rub Jay-Z's back.
I want to hear what your thoughts are on Proctor.
I think he's been more impacted by all of the turnover in scheme and position coaches and different. You try this, you play bandit, you do adjuster, you're free safety, you're in the box. Because one thing that Josh Proctor needs more than anything is to understand what he's being asked to do so that he can go do it. I think the strength of his game is going to be his physical ability. It's going to be his chance to go see something and hit it or chase down a ball in center field, whatever. If you ask him to do something specific, I think he will do that better than almost anybody at safety in the country. That's how physically gifted he is. If you start asking him to do 10 or 15 other things and make checks or
make sure everybody else is doing other things, and
I don't think that he will succeed in that situation.
He's not Jordan Fuller.
And so if now you're saying, well, you get to play with Perry Eliano for another year as your position coach, you're in your second year with Jim Knowles in the system, I think that may help him more than anybody else on the team.
Consistency. Helped by consistency. I like that. I just look at this and I see a lot of guys, they'll roll some corners, and then they've got Lathan Ransom in there. So, Cam, Lathan, and Proctor have been the three dudes. And they've been working Sonny, and I'm curious how they're going to try to get Sonny Styles on the field, given his athletic prowess and just his.
And given what you've seen from him, do you think he's going to be on the field?
He's a good player.
It's just a matter of where they put him.
It's similar, and we talked about it a lot in recent weeks, is about C.J. Hicks. There's some guys physically that are just a little bit different that you're like, man, we really need to find a way to just keep him on the field. Sonny, they're going to find some way to deploy Sonny a lot. And Jim Knowles on Tuesday actually mentioned that he wants to look at C.J. Hicks in that jack role, and he brought it up unprompted. So either he's listening to everyone out there in the ether saying, "Oh, put C.J. Hicks here, put C.J. Hicks here."
Jim Knowles seems like a guy that would
He's
really take
definitely
advice from the media
Yeah,
on how to play defense.
He's definitely listening to podcasts to see what he needs to
say the
do.
media. I said the
Who
ether.
needs to? Who
You guys
needs
got any
to
other
put-
suggestions here?
Hey, I heard on 97.1 today that we should be playing.
the
Zach.
reality
Zach
is-
Boren wants Jack Sawyer.
Yeah, Zach Bourne. Yeah, she wants you to add 20 pounds to him, put him at 3-tech.
What do you think about that?
That idea?
Yeah.
I mean,
Call Zach out. Look right in the camera. And tell him
I
it
think
sucks.
it's a functional idea. I don't know if Jack is quite there yet as a junior in college. Could he grow into that and be that guy?
I think he was talking about him being more like a
J.J.
J.J. Watt type player.
Yeah, I think he could be a 5
Down the road, yeah.
3, but I don't know if you want him doing that quite yet. Because Jack is another guy that was like Cam Martinez, who played a lot of stuff in high school. And so there's still developmental.
Unlike Cam Martinez, actually missed half of his junior year because of injury, and then didn't play his entire senior season. So, you think, and then you come into Ohio State and you don't know what's going on with everything else with COVID and the world. These kids. The last couple of years, development has been wonky for a number of reasons, but I don't think we do enough conversation around how much the development track a lot of these kids was thrown off by 2020.
They missed the spring. They missed an abbreviated fall. There are games they didn't get. There are practices they didn't get. I mean, it's under the leadership and guise of Kevin Warren, it was a smooth ship, smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing.
How many days does he have
Straight
left?
to Chicago.
28?
I don't know.
He did such a good job, he got a new job.
Have they announced who the new commissioner is going to be?
It's gonna
General
be you.
Bob, I thought.
Well, it's mean,
it's in the works
because you hadn't signed off on the release yet.
You can't help but love the irony of
He didn't
Kevin
say
Warren
no.
now being Justin Fields' boss in Chicago, when it was Justin Fields who was basically
came on TV
Calling him
and
out,
said,
saying-
"Let's play football."
Yeah.
gotta love that.
Let's
Let us
play the
play.
football.
I imagine that first day in the Chicago Bears facility is going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good.
I'm sure. Yeah, everyone will really enjoy it. Kevin Warren's a great guy to be
CJ Hicks, I didn't. That's interesting that he brought that up though, because that's, they also have Mitchell Melton, who I think is another guy who you can roll through there, who looks really good, who they've been holding out.
As long as he can stay healthy, then you have
Yeah,
a
I mean
shot.
it's a big if. I mean, but he has the physical ability, and he's physically ready to go. It's just a function of, do we want to subject him to anything during the spring? Let's get him healthy, get him ready for camp, and see what he can do there. But they've got a lot of bodies on defense. They just need some. The one place they're a little thin is kind of defensive line, which is the first time that's especially inside.
Yeah. It's funny, we were talking leading into spring about how the defense only has 32 scholarship players, and now we're sitting there going, they got too many guys. But
They've got a lot of guys that can all play.
They're all in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, the
back
secondary
back half. Yeah.
Secondary, yeah.
is really loaded. Defensive tackle.
Which is a good problem to have if you don't have a very good defensive line, or a very deep defensive line, I should say.
There's talent, but there's not a lot of depth.
Yeah.
I know they like the 4-down stuff, but this may be a year to probably do a little more 3-down stuff, just given
Get a
what
little,
You got a bunch of
what
linebackers
you
that
have.
can play.
Yeah, you have to look at the.
Different bodies you can use coming off the edge.
This is what they had at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Got to
That's-
make the best
Yeah,
meal.
let's make
Bob, that's why I think it's strange the way that Jim Knowles has talked about the use of the jack this spring, where it's like, well, Mitchell Melton's not available, so we're not going to do it. Like, really? Like, you don't want to prepare, and there's nobody else on this roster that you think can do it? Because that's not true. We've been saying C.J. Hicks would be an option for that, like, before camp even started. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard not to see that. Or you're not going to try Caden Curry there to let him be dynamic and use his athleticism, or whoever. Like, Reed Carrico, Gabe Powers.
Not
I don't
other
know.
people you can put into there just to see if it works.
That was my, and Bill and I had talked about this. Like, if you think that it's such an important part of your defense, like, it can't be only one person who can do it.
So
And
that guy
you
gets
take
hurt.
all the spring
And you
off
can't
of-
do it for 1 year and then just be done with it.
Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It's strange.
That's really it. And then the offensive line, just getting it cleaned up, especially on the right side. If they can do that, like I feel good that the quarterbacks will develop. I mean,
We got to keep the offensive line healthy too, because I mean, Fryer, if something bad were to happen,
it's a thin group. It's like these.
that's
thin,
great and all that.
it's like
we
these
have
thin
one that can play.
sliced pickles.
Thin line.
Yes,
These
the
thin sliced
thin
pickles.
sliced pickles that you get for $3 today.
Yeah, they'll put a big smile.
You
on
might not
your
get
face.
that big of one.
Biggest wedge I've ever seen.
It's amazing. I don't know. We'll
It's like the Joker.
There's
face
a lot
right
more
there.
to talk about.
but we're
You
out
know,
of time, though.
I know, but I'm saying we have other shows to talk about it on, right?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Next Monday. We'll be back. Today is Appetizer Tuesday, though. Don't forget, if you're watching this right now and you're getting hungry,
Pick
fried pickles.
Pick
are
some pickles up on the
$3.
way home from work,
Thick pickles.
or just come in and have a beer for
Stop
happy
in.
hour.
Happy hour. I don't know what the special is right now. I don't have it in front of me, but there is one.
It's
I
going to be
promise you.
cold and delicious. I'm sure.
Wherever your local Roosters is, swing in. It's a fun, casual joint. I promise you won't regret it. For Nicole Cox, thanks for having us in here. That's Jay-Z, Bob, and Perm. I'm Austin. Hope you enjoyed this week's visit in the Horseshoe Lounge. We will see you next Monday.